Like, it was so funny to us, but I don't think it was that funny to other people because they weren't in on the joke necessarily. They're like, this is just kind of a weird song.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live.
So weird. Hi.
Check out our new Wi-Fi dealie up there.
Nice.
It's looking good.
Mm-hmm.
We're bathed in the Wi-Fi. I'm basking in it. And I think we're probably going to wind up tanner because of it.
Yeah. You're already pretty tan.
Yeah, I try not to be. It just kind of happens.
It's the Italian.
You know, it's Friday the 13th today.
Oh, and it's a full moon.
Oh my god. I showed that to Mateo
and
last night.
it's Borderlands Day.
Oh my gosh. And it's iPhone pre-order day.
It's like everything's happening.
It's Friday Live today too.
Friday Live!
It's amazing. All right, should we just get started?
Yeah.
I think everything looks
I'm
okay
trying
to me.
like energy because I feel really tired.
Yeah, drink more coffee.
Drinking more coffee.
All right, so it's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we're going to talk about some woodworking things. We don't have much in terms of like things to show, but we got lots of questions to answer. I have questions over from Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you want to help us out at Patreon, it's patreon.com/woodwhisperer, and I'm going to use that for my first set of questions. And Nicole is going to get live questions from the YouTube chat.
I should probably go in there.
You may want to go in there.
Oh, and we got the show titles.
Oh, the show title bot thing?
The show title bot should
Well,
be...
this is really getting exciting now.
I know, it's so exciting.
I'm super stoked about it. So I also decided that I would increase my dorkiness by wearing the dorkiest jacket that I could possibly find.
It's a little chilly today.
It's a little bit chilly, but there's nothing like walking around like a giant...
with an NES jacket.
Like a giant NES, because that's just how I roll. Yeah, there's a certain point in life where you just stop caring.
Well, it's the same way with my shirt. I'm like, I'm going to wear this to school, and I'm going to find my people.
Yeah, right, which would be no one. No one but you.
I bet you there was
and
a few.
There was this really nice looking lady in when you walked by the bathroom. She was in the mirror. It was you.
Oh, it was me.
You saw yourself. Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
Terrible joke. But anyways.
Oops.
Okay, so I think we're going to get started here. We do have a quick announcement, right?
I thought we already got started. Oh, I'm not wearing a mic.
Oh, it's right here on the bench. Hold on. Watch your ears in case she scratches it or bumps it. She's got to clip one of her little faces there.
It's a bandit.
Yeah, one of your bandit faces. So, do you want to talk about the Spanish thing?
Yes.
Yeah, so quick announcement. This is kind of cool.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I
It's
mean,
a lot of cool.
if you speak English, then maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So, like...
You already have a channel dedicated to your language.
2% of you will be like, oh, this is great. So go ahead. What's the deal?
So we have partnered with a company called Paper Cup, and they have taken, they're slowly, we have almost 400 videos on the main WoodWhisperer channel. Like 2006, and then, you know.
Word.
So they are slowly going through that just treasure trove of content, and they are creating dubbed WoodWhisperer videos in Spanish.
Overdubbed in Spanish.
So it
with care and attention to detail.
It is the most awesome thing.
If
they
you
try
are,
to match up.
I mean, if you're a Spanish speaker, or maybe English isn't your first language and you're more comfortable listening to Spanish, this is not just like lower thirds.
Yeah, no, this is like...
You know, captions.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
dubbed.
Legit. Someone took the time to do a full Spanish translation and overdub it on our videos. I can give you a little preview here. It is WoodWhisperer Español. That's my inbox. Sorry. I'm just doing a desktop share here. Should we get a little sampling?
Yes.
Cole?
Me he dado cuenta de que algunos de ustedes no saben cómo hacer mortajas. Cambiemos eso, le mostraré una manera rápida, fácil y barata de hacer mortajas.
Right? I mean,
Yep.
You know that's going to be good. There's really nothing that can go wrong there. So
I think there's 10 videos so far over
Yeah.
on the channel. They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
9 videos.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
So
Let everyone know. WoodWhisperer Español is where it's
I
at.
think it's awesome.
I think it's great too.
So
It's like ESPN, the Ocho.
It's a totally separate channel. So there it is.
There it is. What was I going to say about that? Nothing. All right. It's all good. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So we do actually have someone that we wanted to thank for their support on Patreon, and that is a person named Sal. Just Sal, Nicole, helped us out. So,
Sal!
Just a quick reminder.
Better call him.
No, that's Saul.
Oh, Saul.
Crazy. So if you guys want to help out over there at Patreon, again, that's patreon.com/WoodWhisperer. We always appreciate the support. But you know what? The thing we like the most that people do to support us? Watch us.
Yeah.
Watch the show. Maybe tell a friend about it. And tell them about ESPN The Ocho while you're there.
Matthew wants to know, how do you say hit it in Spanish?
Hit it.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. That's one of those things they probably wouldn't translate.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's part of a song.
And I think a lot of Spanish people might know what hit it means when they hear it in a song.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like when they listen to American rap and they go, oh, I know what that means when they go, ha 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 ha. Oh yeah. All right. So let's get to some questions. This show's off the rails.
I
already.
love it though.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Jason Goodrich asked an interesting question. He says, I enjoy the tongue-in-cheek way that you do your ads. How do the sponsors feel about it due to the insincere feel of the ads? Hopefully the people who have come off as rude recently are just returning wise assery for wise assery. Okay, so just a couple of things on this. If you're not familiar, on Instagram recently, did a bit of a rant. It's still available in my stories about advertising, and I had done an ad for firm grip gloves. There were a couple of people who just were giving me crap about it. They were not returning any sort of wise assery. They were just doing assery. General assery. And they got blocked as a result of it. So I went on this rant about how, you have to understand the role of ads and how they play into what Nicole and I do and the decisions we make in terms of it's not something we take very lightly at all. We go back and forth, and there are times where we'll get mostly through a negotiation with a company, and I'll just back out.
It doesn't feel right.
Because it doesn't feel right. So it was this whole thing. So that's what Jason is referring to with his question here. Now, I do actually take issue with part of what he says here. He says, how do the sponsors feel about it due to the insincere feel of the ads? I don't believe it's insincere at all. It's coming from a place of sincerity with a couple drops of humor added to it. I never want it to be insincere. My goal is to be 100% sincere, and the joke becomes in the overt nature of saying, hey guys, this is an ad, right?
Yeah.
This is not normal content, it's an ad. This is me hitting you over the head, making sure you don't misunderstand the intent of the ad. But I don't think there's a lack of sincerity there. Now that said, we keep getting paid. So my guess is they must like what we're doing. Ultimately,
Resonates.
when I do things like that, we found out talking to, with Titebond, we found out one post that I made actually caused a meeting to occur of a couple people to get together and say, is this what we want? The great thing was in the end, they decided, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But if if you think about certain companies in the corporate culture, it might be difficult for them to just be like, yeah, let's give this guy a long leash and let him say what he wants.
Yeah.
But in the end, isn't that why you're going to me? I'm not an employee. I'm someone who likes your product, uses it, and will tell people about it. So I honestly don't think that's something that hurts us much. If it does, then that's not the right company for us to be working with, So anyway, enough about business. Let's go to
That's business.
Araya Woodworks says, is there any other tool you want to upgrade or you are missing? Maybe like a monster S4S machine? No, I don't want that. I'd like to get like a bigger edge sander. I always say that my combo sander, the disc and belt, I don't use the belt, I use the disc, but I could probably get just as much use out of an edge sander, and it would be a single dedicated machine. And I don't think my paper would gum up quite as much as that small spinning wheel does. That's one. I didn't get a chance to play with it, but when I was at Phillips' shop, I saw the Shaper Origin. And while full size CNC doesn't necessarily interest me, and I also don't really have the room for it, something like the Shaper Origin was quite compelling, very interesting to me. So who knows? It's not something I'm actively shopping for. It's something that I'm thinking about. That's really about it that's on my mind at the moment.
I know what's on my mind.
Borderlands?
Borderlands!
You better get your mind on the task at hand, sister. Okay. By the way, I did just buy my copy and it downloaded while you were taking the kids to school. Okay, so I haven't previewed any of these questions. I'm just going to keep going through. If you have one, interject. But I'm going to go to Cody Kellogg's question. He says, I'm working on an offering box for our church. They want it to be painted white, but to make it a little more special, I've constructed it out of carefully selected quarter-sawn white oak, hoping that the grain will still show through after I paint it. Any suggestions for using a sealer/pore filler that will still allow the grain to show through? I tried painting a test piece with no sealer and was getting little pinholes along the grain coming through. Running short on test material and time, so wondered if you had any suggestions. Thanks, Cody. Cody, this sounds like conflicting things here. If you want to see grain, then you absolutely do not want to use a pore filler. That's going to do exactly the opposite of what you're hoping it will do. So what I might suggest is going with some kind of a paint or something that's a little bit thinner. The thicker bodied materials will tend to sit on the surface and fill those pores and the grain lines. The thinner it is, the less that's going to happen. So if you do something like maybe making your own paint, get some lacquer, thin it out a little bit, and then add some pigment to it. You can get white pigment. It might be a little pricey, but you can get it. Put a little dollop of that in your spray can. Spray coats of that, and you could build up that white color in a thinned lacquer solution, and you should find that that stuff sits down into all of those grain lines and will allow you to build a decent finish and still see some of that grain in the end. That's where I would start. But again, you're on the right track for doing tests because you got to see if this is going to work or not. But I would stop with the pore filling because that seems like it's going to be counterproductive for what you want to do. Do you got a question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I did have it. I just lost it. So Glenn just asked, have you ever had a fight right before going live?
Yeah, me and Jason duke it out. He punches me in the jaw once in a while. It's one of those things like a prized fighter. They use it to get pumped up.
Yeah.
Just punch me in the face before we go live, Nicole. Just for good luck. You know what? No. And I'll be honest. This is not like a braggy thing. No. I think it's a compatibility thing. And also maybe we're just too tired to argue.
That's true.
But
it's probably that.
We might get snippy with each other once in a while. But Nicole and I are not arguers.
I hate to argue.
We're lovers, not fighters.
I mean, we get annoyed just like anybody.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
I mean, because you're always up in my grill. Sometimes it annoys me.
I will say, if I am in an off mood, this show usually
cheers you up.
Cheers me up.
Doesn't make it worse. It makes it better.
Yeah, it makes it better.
No, what'll happen? Not a fight, but what would happen is we might both be equally annoyed at the kids.
At the kids,
and the process of getting ready for school. Yeah, and it's just something. It's like, and we don't feel like doing the show.
Right.
But when you get into it and you get rolling, once you're at the gym,
once you're there,
it's great. Getting to the gym is the problem.
Yeah.
So actually, we usually feel better after the show. But typically, it's not like a spat. It's usually just us being short with each other because the kids were being super annoying.
Yeah, or just off. Everybody has off days. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes.
We're human. So.
No, I didn't realize we were human, but
we're human.
That's fine.
Human.
Okay, Paul Engel says, I'm in the final stages of ordering equipment for my new shop. I was going to get a ceiling-mounted air filter. The ceiling's 15 foot and concrete slab, so I'm not looking forward to mounting it. I've recently seen the new Axiom Stratus. It looks like a good alternative. Do you have any exposure to this device? Any comments or thoughts? No, and this is why I usually preview questions, because I don't have anything to add about that thing. I know nothing about it, Paul, I'm sorry. But you know what, 15 feet, not that bad if you get a helper and you got two big ladders, which is kind of the catch there.
The
like
ladders.
if you have a big ladder, most people don't have two big ladders. But yeah, I guess that's kind of high, 15 feet. I mean, mine are like 11.
15, yeah, 15.
So that's,
high.
You know what 15 is
I would
like?
be afraid to get on a 15-foot ladder.
16 feet. Think of the first shop in Arizona.
Oh,
the big
yeah,
RV garage.
The RV garage.
That was pretty high. That was a little dicey with the dust collection. So I feel you, Paul, but I'm not familiar with the Stratus. Okay, so Ryan Murray says, welcome back. I have a Titebond question. In your shop, how much open time do you feel comfortable with when doing an assembly with Titebond III, hide glue, and extend? They give you the numbers, but it depends on your climate, how much that can go above or below. Can't wait to get that video out, by the way.
I was wondering, because we got a whole bunch of glue sitting there now.
We're in the weirdest period of WoodWhisperer history when we have a pile of content to release, and because I'm always in the shop with Jay, like I gave Jay the day off today so that I could sit in the office and get a video out, which is just a weird place to be for us. Anyway, that's a bit of a detour, but we have a Titebond video that's coming out pretty soon. 10 minutes, I would feel comfortable with about a 10-minute time period. That would be the max. Anything more than that, I mean, we're in, I almost said Arizona.
I know you did. I was like, bite your tongue.
Just kidding. Arizona's great.
So
is Vegas. Love both places. Yes. But ultimately, anything approaching 10 minutes, I start to get a little bit worried about. It's very dry here in Denver, so it tends to dry a little bit faster and set up a little bit faster. So
it's so dry in Denver that I've never had a nosebleed ever in my life, and I had one here. And I was like, what is this?
It's so dry in Denver that we moved from Arizona and said, wow, it's dry here.
It's dry here.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of bananas.
See, well, we're getting a lot of this. This is one of the most feedback, sort of stories I've ever done. Even Kevin Windsor makes a comment about the thing, the ad rant.
Oh, the ad rant.
Yeah, and this happened on the Facebook group too. Like people keep talking about it. I'm actually surprised. I didn't think it was that.
It's
connect with people.
It is an interesting time in ad online history right now.
And social media.
And you have the FCC looking at videos on YouTube targeting preschoolers now.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Well, and the thing is, we're turning into a community of personalities, legit personalities that then develop into an online personality.
Sure.
And everyone is sort of like an amped up version of who they really are.
I don't know. We're pretty...
Us?
I guess normally we don't talk.
Yeah. We just coexist. We mingle in the same space. Occasionally we bump into each other and we go, hey, you hungry? Let's eat.
So I do a segment on a podcast called The Morning Stream where I talk about movies streaming. And it's a small little segment every Wednesday. So if you look for The Morning Stream on Wednesdays is where you'll find it. But there's actually a dad at our kid's school that listens and he's like, I think I know you. I'm like, I'm actually really boring in person. So
unless you want to talk about PTA stuff.
Yeah.
Man, she's lit up over that.
I love our schools.
No, that's great.
There should be more volunteers.
I enjoy it. I enjoy your love of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a tricky time. I wonder how you guys feel about that. Like, it's there was a point in time.
In the comments.
Leave a comment and click that like button and maybe subscribe while you're there. Where everybody's doing a show. It's no more. There was a period of time early on where it was like, hey, I'm just Dingdong McGee in my garage.
Dingdong McGee should be the name of the show.
I'm just Dingdong McGee building stuff in my garage. Come check it out. And then everything develops to this point where now people are inspired by the people who've become more famous, Dingdong McGees.
Ding-dong.
And now they're, seeing the advertising and all this stuff, and they're seeing the money, quite honestly, and they're coming into it with this premeditated personality. And it's part of, more of what we're seeing here from some of the coolest accounts we follow, So if you're looking around on Instagram at who to follow, a lot of times some of these people who have done really well for themselves have thought long and hard about who they are and what they represent and what things are allowed to be shown on their channel and what isn't. It's a very interesting time.
There's a reason why we don't have 1 million subscribers, even though we were the first one out there.
Because we don't try that hard.
We don't try that hard.
And we don't look at our stats.
Yeah, we don't. It's funny because we're like 35 subscribers away from, on this channel, 40,000. So.
Oh, on the Offcuts channel?
Yeah.
That's not too bad for
not bad.
Offcuts.
Nothing to sniff your nose at.
Sniff my nose. Okay. I don't know what else to do with my nose.
I know, right? Fine. Thumb your nose. That's what it is. Sniff your nose.
You sniff your nose at it, and then you go count your strokes.
Thumb your nose. That's I can't remember this.
That's great. Okay, so Mark Ritchie says, for commission pieces, I'm wondering how you balance structural integrity with what the client thinks they want. Well, I don't do a whole lot of commission pieces these days. I generally just try to build the piece as good as it can be for its purpose, whatever that might be. But if you're doing a commission piece, how do you balance structural integrity with what the client thinks they want? Well, I think you need to, it's a little vague, but you need to talk to the client and educate them. Whenever I was building something for someone, very seldom would I simply take an order, build it to the specifications they requested, and hand that to them and get a check. It's a conversation. And a lot of times people come to a craftsperson to build something because they want that craftsperson's knowledge and experience. So if they think they want something and you know better that that's not the best thing for them, talk to them about it. I would not necessarily try to just make it work. Make sure they understand, educate them, and I think an educated client is going to be on your side. Remember, we would work with Ed all the time.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite clients I ever worked for in Arizona was a gentleman named Ed, who was already fairly well educated and knew kind of what he wanted. But at the same time, we'd go back and forth, and I would show him and go, yeah, I know you asked for this solid panel to be completely surrounded by solid wood, but we can't do that. And here's the alternative that I suggest. And he would go, oh, okay. And he learned something, and now he knows why it had to be that way. So it always comes down to education. And if you can't see past that, don't build anything that you don't want to warranty, because that'll just bite you in the butt. So.
Chase Moore just did a super chat. He said, new shop floor getting poured in 2 weeks, 30 by 30. Anything a must in the floor before we pour in your experience? Looking for the ease of life down the road, floor outlets.
I put concrete in it.
Yeah.
A little cement.
A little cement.
Maybe some mortar.
You had placement of your outlets.
Yeah, but none of this is must.
No.
Okay, so if you're thinking about this stuff, it's good creature comfort things to have
That's what he
outlets.
said, looking for ease of use.
But it's risky because it's a new space and you haven't been in there yet. If you are absolutely sure where you want things to go, try to find locations to pop up those outlets where you know that even if you rearrange things a little bit, you might still be able to use them. I wouldn't do dust collection, though a lot of people do try to do that, to keep the dust collection from being an unsightly overhead obstruction. But dust collection, I feel like, I don't know, that's something that might even change more than electricity in terms of evolving the shop over time. So having something that's embedded in the concrete is I find extremely risky. But if you're confident about it, that would be great, right? To not have to worry about seeing ductwork. I mean, the ductwork in my shop is an absolute eyesore. I would love to not see that. But I don't think, even if I built this house, I don't think I would have been confident enough to run ductwork under the slab just to keep it out of the way. So. But think long and hard about those outlet positions, and you could, you really enjoy it in the long run.
Speaking of electricity, Will Hooper says, "Hey, Mark, I'm an electrician by trade. But
here's what you did wrong."
But going to start doing woodworking, and the shop is almost built. Going to start some projects, and was wondering what would be your top 3 jigs that you would start. So the electrician part had nothing to do with his.
He just wanted
to tell us
to let us know he's a Sparky.
So Chase, talk to Will about electricity.
Yeah, you guys can trade notes. So he wants the top 3 jigs
that you would start with.
Well, I guess it's a jig, right? The crosscut sled? You call that a jig or a fixture? I mean, sometimes these terms get interchanged. I like a crosscut sled. I think a tapering jig is a really good idea for cutting tapers. Let's see. I'm trying to think in terms of what are you looking for?
I'm just making sure. Somebody asked if the clock was right, and it's correct.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, geez, those are the 2 that jump out at me, and really the only 2 that I use all the time. From there, jigs come down to specifics. So if you're going to be a box builder or frame builder, you're probably going to want some kind of a spline jig, or a key jig, depending on your how you refer to it. Things like that can be really handy for joinery. But I guess let's call it those 3: crosscut sled, tapering jig, and a mitered spline jig.
Miter spline.
And that's on short notice. That's my answer.
Chris Kalinassi says, wait.
Oh, Chris. I just answered your email this morning.
For some of the videos featuring Nicole, does the same guy dub over a female or with some lumber yard sass?
Well, they haven't done those.
They haven't done it yet, but I think they try to match the voices that are in the video.
I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. Oh, that's going to be great. Or they might also go, well, this is an okay video, but we have to get our female voice person in, and so we'll skip this one.
Yeah, maybe.
They're probably going for the low-hanging fruit, like the highest watch counts, converting those first. So they'll be on those for a while.
Can I do a super chat from Jeannie Grassi?
Of course.
She says, in memory of Daphne, who was always with me in the shop. She loved Mark.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Daphne was great. I so enjoyed my meeting with her. She sounds like she had an adventurous life because Jeannie threw her out a window. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember.
But when she had the fire, she said that she
yes,
had to throw,
right.
or someone had to throw the dog out the window. Oh, well, sorry to hear that, Jeannie. Our condolences.
Yes. right.
Let me go to Matthew Lay question. He says, how small does a panel, tabletop, etc. have to be before you can glue it down to the frame instead of allowing for wood movement? In other words, what's the maximum size bit of wood you would be comfortable fixing down on all four sides instead of using Z-clips or floating edges? None. There are no things that I would call a tabletop of any sort that I would feel comfortable restricting its movement. I would have to get down to boxes. Decorative, small, keepsake boxes is about the size. We're talking like maybe 4x4, 3x3, maybe 5x5, something in that category or in that classification that the wood, if it does move, is fairly insignificant, or the framework that's around the wood is strong enough to resist it, and there's a little bit of a elasticity in wood that it can handle that. But as soon as you go to anything called a tabletop, from an end table to an occasional table, there are very few, none that I would not allow for wood movement on. Go look at some of the wood movement calculators and look at the conditions in your area over the course of the year. Find your highest humidity, your lowest humidity, and look at the sizes and see how much the wood moves. And then you'll have a better idea of why it's just not a good idea to try to restrict the top.
Don't restrict the top.
Don't restrict your top. Oh, another Chris Kalnowski question.
He has another one in here.
Oh,
You're
Chris,
all over the place,
settle
Chris.
down, man. Calm down.
He's full of questions.
Yeah, he is. I like that, though. Here's to another week of hoping Duncan will scoop you up as a new show sponsor. I doubt it, because we'll make fun of them, and they won't like my sass.
Sassy pants. Sassy pants spags.
That's right. Mark, at what point do you sharpen your chisels? Do you just touch them up or strop them as needed, or wait until it's necessary to return to a lower grit and work back up to a micro bevel? Does this stay true for all the different style of chisels? Well, there's what I'd like to do and what I tell people to do, and then there's what I actually do. What I actually do is I wait way too long. So sometimes it's not as easy as just going to a strop or the highest grit. But most of the time, in all reality, I let it go a little bit too long. I probably have to drop down to either the 5,000 or the 1,000 stone and just work my way back up on the micro bevel. I don't usually do so much damage that I have to reset the micro bevel, but I do have to go down to a low enough grit and work my way up, which is really all of a couple extra seconds. It's not that big of a deal, especially when you're using a jig, to go from 1,000 to 5,000 to 8,000 and then lap the back, and then I'm done. Right? So it's a fairly quick process, even with a little bit of neglect.
What were you just talking about?
And this does stay true for all of the chisel types. Chisels.
Oh, chisel.
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 You guys want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Can I tell the story about Jay and the chisel?
No.
Okay, he'll be embarrassed.
Yes,
Okay.
he would.
Well, now everybody's going to want to know.
Then they'll just want to know.
Okay.
It's okay.
Sorry, Jay.
Were you just talking about calculating wood?
Yeah.
James Hickey wants to know, how does a guy calculate how much hardwood is needed for a project? There's some calculators out there, right?
Yes, and this has nothing to do with the calculation we were talking about before. We were talking about moisture content.
Moisture content.
How do you go about calculating it? Well, it comes down to, number one, having a cut list. If you know what parts you need, that's where it all starts. Generally, you're going to, like I always round up just to make sure there's a certain amount of error built in. And then once I get a final number, I can add a little bit to that as well. But typically, you're looking at your parts and doing math, right? So a lot of times you're buying wood by the board foot. So to get that number in inches, you take whatever the cut list says, length, width, thickness, multiply them all together, divide by 144, that's your number of board feet. So when you add all those board feet up, you end up with 10, 15 board feet of lumber that you need, maybe add 20%. That's always what people say. In reality, though, you may need way more than that or less. It doesn't, it just depends on how the parts lay out and how picky you want to be about grain, knots, stuff like that. But generally speaking, I calculate the board foot count for each part and then add all those together, and that's how I go shopping. Keep in mind, though, I also am very picky about wood grain. So let's say I have a tabletop. Even if I have a total board foot count, I'm going to be picking out specific boards for the top and then thinking about how much extra I need for the base, something like that. I got one more question here from Eric Liu. He says, Mark, we all hear about snipe on planers. Luckily, here's snipe.
I can never not do that when you say snipe.
Okay. Luckily, I rarely have that problem, but I recently planed some walnut with crazy grain and got a lot of tear out. I'm guessing that's expected. I just never remember hearing people talk about tear out on the planer. Well, people talk about it all the time. If you have a straight knife planer, especially, you're going to talk about it. Figured woods, you've got grain that's running all over the place. So what happens is on certain parts where the undulating grain is just going in an unfortunate direction, the planer blade hits it and it tears it out, just like it would with a hand plane or something else if you're just too aggressive with it. So that is one of the reasons why I have a helical head planer, because they tend to treat figured wood much, much better. And it gives you a cleaner cut. You got a nice shear angle on there. And those little carbide tips are nice and sharp. So nature of the beast. In the past, before I had a helical head in the planer, I got a drum sander. And the drum sander was there so that I would take my figured woods down pretty close to where I needed to be. And then I would use the drum sander to finish them and bring them down to final thickness, but do it in a way that involves sanding so I don't get all of that tear out. But yeah, it's something that can happen. Couple things you can do. You can certainly change the direction, but if it's really just highly figured, it won't matter which direction. But one might be better than another, so consider flipping it around. Also, some people will pre-wet the grain. I've seen people use like denatured alcohol just to give it a nice little swipe, and that moistening of the grain allows it to shear a little bit easier and might improve the tear out situation. So that's all my Patreon questions. It's all on you, sister.
I just got a super chat from Tom.
Super chat.
Tom, is it LaSurf? For Nicole, because you have your brother's back.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
She's got his brother's
Do I have to
back.
give that to him?
Yeah, is that Jay's money? Okay, that's fine. It's Jay's tip. We owe him money.
Kevin Wixon wants to know, what do you do with your sawdust? We used to give it to a lady that used it for pottery.
Yeah.
But she's like, okay,
Only like
that's
3
enough.
times.
But she was like, I got enough.
Yeah, I got a year's supply, thanks.
Thanks.
We throw it away.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find a resource, someone who could take it, there are sometimes folks who have garden beds that they don't mind having some wood chips, but a lot of times I've got walnut in mind, so if it's someone who might use it for animals or gardens, a lot of times you want to stay away from walnut. So it's a little bit dicey. If you use a lot of different species, you do have to be careful what it is and where it goes, but that probably is going to be on the person who's taking it, and you tell them, hey, this might have this, this, and this in it. But all that said, these days, we produce so much that it's really hard. Even if we had someone who would take it, they're likely not going to take it all. So the only thing left to do is to bag it up and throw it out.
Let's see, Jason DiRocco, with all of the waterfall live edge epoxy tables being popular now, in your opinion, where do you see the next fad going?
Well, I mean,
I think those tables are.
I was going to say I
out.
would say we're on the
other side of it.
Other side of the bell curve on that one.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I think there's still a lot of companies out there producing, big slab tables and these epoxy river tables and things like that. But I would have to say we're at the waning edge of that fad, I would think. But how do I know what the next thing is? I mean, look at it this way. Generally speaking, when we talk about these sort of fads, who would have predicted the first one? And what was the one before that? I don't know that there was one, I think the epoxy river table sort of concept and slab stuff came about as all of this social media stuff started to spring up, and whatever magic mix of things that caused that, to occur, will that be the cause of something else? Or was that just like a one-time thing? And from here on out, we're just going to be into all kinds of weird stuff, and people will still make those tables because they think they're cool. So I don't know. I could never predict what would be the next. I just ask the question, will there be a next thing? Or is everybody just moving off in whatever direction interests them? But I do think we can actually thank those tables and the epoxy river tables for bringing a lot of new people into the craft. Regardless of what you think about the quality of their work, there are a lot of people who are now making a living because that thing became popular. But maybe they'll branch off into other things, and this is a whole new career path for them. It opened up a lot of possibilities for people and raised a lot of awareness about custom furniture.
Yeah.
And I think it also, hard wax...
Did it bring the price of epoxy down, you think?
It made, you know what I would say? I don't know that it brought the price down so much as gave us a lot more variety.
Yeah.
There's a lot more epoxy-based products out there that people are using that were not necessarily available, and maybe those have come down in price.
Interesting.
And also hard wax oil finishes. I think we could thank, slab tables for not the existence of those, but the prevalence of those in the furniture making world now. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Something to think about. No, Kumiko is not the next fad. Here. Kumiko is already a little bit of a fad.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's like
I think it's beautiful.
it's a finer level fad, right?
Yeah.
Like if you work at fine woodworking, you have to do Kumiko.
Right.
In fact, I don't think they hire you unless you have a little Kumiko doily that you made. You bring that in as part of your interview process. Seriously though, Kumiko is a beautiful art form. It's very cool. I don't think it will be the next fad. I think it is too, I think the reason the river table fad, if you want to call it that, became a thing was because it was a little bit more accessible. I don't think Kumiko comes across as accessible. It's a painstaking process with a lot of detail. I think we are in no more of a risk of that being a fad than like marquetry suddenly becoming a big fad.
Right.
But it's a lower level fad, let's call it that. Amongst a certain community of people, it's a very popular thing right now.
I just got a question from Will Hooper, who is the electrician, and he wanted to know if we had tried the jet planer that we gave away a few months ago. That had just...
The new one.
The brand new one. It just came out.
Yeah, we never got any hands on that at all.
He said, because I bought it and it says it has a helical head, but it's a spiral head. Should I upgrade the head, and what is the difference in the two? I don't think it does. Did they say helical-like head, or...
I don't know.
WoodWhisperer.
I honestly have no idea.
I'm going to look.
I wouldn't worry about it, though, to answer your question. If it's not exactly what you thought it was, I wouldn't worry about it because a spiral head...
Yeah, it was a helical style.
Helical style.
So...
Well, here's the thing. When you talk about helical heads, you've got those spiral designs.
Yeah.
Shelix, I think, has their stuff patented, so you might not be able to get exactly like a Shelix head unless you get that brand into your planer. But unless you're having problems, a spiral, even if it's helical-like,
right,
it probably still does a dang good job. So unless you're seeing a problem that's worth the trouble of trying to upgrade that to a true helical, I don't know that I would even worry about it.
Speaking of jet, I just got an email this morning. Their September sale is going on now, September 13th to the 23rd. It's 10% off all jet woodworking machinery and accessories.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So standard, Rockler, tool nut. I think they, Woodcraft, they all have jet tools that you can go check out the prices. Even Amazon.
I think Jeannie and I agree on this. She says Kumiko requires a patient and OCD personality, opposite scale from the slab fad.
Yeah. Pour it and dump. Dump and pour.
Dump and pour.
Dump and pour.
Oh, Nicole, don't be so dismissive. You're so flippant about it.
I watch people just dump and pour.
Oh, I love watching people dump. I watched Cremona. He dumped.
Come on.
He dumped once.
All right, let's go. God. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, going back through my questions. The problem is I'm bebopping around here.
Yep, you are.
Let's see. Chris had another question, continuing the Titebond question. Us on the East Coast with humidity, should you expect more open time then?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the air is more humid, you're talking about a water-based glue. I don't know. I mean, there's levels, shades of gray here. There's levels of significance and how much it's going to give you. But the way I look at it is you look at what's on the bottle, they give you conditions that are like 70 degrees and whatever relative humidity. So if you are hotter and drier, it's going to be a little less. And if you are moister, if you're more moist, and if it's more humid and possibly lower temperatures, you could probably expect a little bit more time out of that. And I've gone to visit other people's shops and I've seen that in action. When I'm at a place that's just a more humid climate, I'm always amazed at how much extra time we have to get joints together that I just don't have here in Denver and certainly didn't have in Arizona.
You know what? I'm trying to post a link to the jet sale and I want to know why YouTube is not letting me post a link in my own chat.
Well, because it's not your chat, it's YouTube's chat. There you go. They're giving you your title, by the way.
What?
I love watching people dump and pour.
Let me see if I can get this to work again. This is silly. Anyway,
Yep.
I got a question here from Jason
Hashtag moist.
Spenny. Stop it.
Go ahead.
Looking to buy a shoulder plane, what size do you recommend to start with, considering Veritas? And I can only buy one to start, usually use 4x4 or 5x4 lumber. Is that right? Is that how I said that right?
No.
How do you say 5x4?
It's fine. Everybody knows what you mean.
What is 5x4?
Don't worry about it.
No, I want to know.
It's not 5x4.
What is it? 5 1/4?
5/4.
5/4.
4/4, 5/4.
Okay.
You're supposed to be the lumber girl. Your big line in
That's
that
called
was
acting.
like 4/4, 6/4, or 8/4.
That was acting.
I like the biggin. I like the large format. I think this also might depend on the size of your hands. If you happen to have smaller hands, you might not be as comfortable with this. But I find this body to be very heavy, easy to manage. The weight actually, I feel, is a benefit to how this processes an edge or goes up against an edge. It's just easier to handle. So this is very comfortable for me. I like the wider body because in some cases I only have to do one pass and I'm done. Whereas the narrow, smaller, or medium shoulder planes, you might have to do multiple passes. But some people are just more comfortable with this size. Pretty significant size difference. But even though I have both of these, when I reach for a shoulder plane, I'm grabbing this bad boy. What's next?
Next. Marcelo wants to know a nice feature. What? I don't know. He asked it again right here, Marcelo.
A nice feature of radial saws
There we go.
was to use a dado blade. Would you consider using a dado blade on a sliding chop saw? Absolutely not. Never do that. That is something that, just generally speaking, is a really bad idea.
Why is it a bad?
A radial arm saw was built for that task. It was almost like...
Is that the one where you...
Yeah, you pull it. It's got a long travel.
Oof.
Oh, don't you? It's fine, Nicole.
Yeah.
But they were meant for kind of replicating a lot of what you could do with the table saw in just a different format as it rides across this arm. On a chop saw and a sliding compound miter saw, the action is totally different. We're just coming down into the wood. Now, theoretically, let's say it was on there and you could pull well out in front of the wood and then push your way through, you might get through the cut and not kill yourself. But a lot of times on a sliding compound miter saw, we're limited and it's hard to bring that down without touching any wood. And then push forward. It's just, so what'll happen is you come into the wood as you're on the downstroke and you also have this arm that you're pushing away from you. It's just a bad combination. I think any manual you look at for them, if they even mention it at all, because they're probably like, who's going to do this? But it's just not recommended. I'd be surprised if you could even get one on there, given the size of the shaft for the arbor there. You may not be able to get more than just a single blade on there and still have threads to bite into. So, but don't do it.
Shane M says, hi, I'm looking to build a Rubo, but before I purchase the hardware, is Benchcrafted hardware going to be part of Woodworkers Fighting Cancer 2019? I would prefer to purchase to go towards the fight against cancer. I never contacted Benchcrafted.
No, we didn't even think about it.
Did they donate 1 year? I want to say
maybe early on, like when we were doing more business with them, possibly, but I don't recall.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've been doing that since we've been doing the auctions, because the auctions are just the last couple of years.
Right.
So I don't think we've ever done that, but he's probably just curious. Let's just say no, because we dropped the ball in even contacting them.
Yeah, so sorry.
And they might have said no anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I want to say I have contacted them in the past.
Yeah. They said, screw you, Wood Whisperers.
we got what we wanted.
We got your money.
All right. Gary Haggins, jig versus fixture. I always thought that if the thing moved, it was a jig. But if it holds the thing in place and the tool moves, it was a fixture.
Something like that. I never remember.
I know.
It's just one of those things I'll always mix up just because I refuse to commit it to memory.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
My 42-year-old brain is like, nah, I got other things to worry about right now.
I get it. Will, do you see Will's question? You have your cursor right over.
Do I? I see Ryan. I see Tim.
Will
I
Hooper.
see Will Hooper.
I see Will.
How much is a membership to the guild? Well, a membership to the guild is the price of a project, whichever project you want. So the price of the membership is whatever price you get the project down to.
And you're a member for life.
So if you find the most inexpensive project, I can't recall exactly which one that is, we do have a free project.
Yeah, but that doesn't give you all.
But it doesn't give you
it's
full
like
access.
It's like a free trial to give you a taste.
Except for it's a trial that doesn't go away.
Right.
Like you get it, that's your project. Now you're in the guild, but you're not necessarily a full-fledged member. But as far as the paid projects, what's our cheapest one? $30, $40?
Yeah, something like that.
Like one of the frames?
The frame, I think.
And that's it. And then from that point on, there's no obligation to continue to buy anything, but you certainly can if you want to.
I will put a link. It's woodwhispererguild.com/member-benefits, and it shows all the member benefits, including all the vendor discounts. We work with a lot of cool companies, and I just got a discount from Maverick Abrasives too.
Oh, nice. Cool.
So I need to get that in there.
They just contacted me about sponsoring Wood Talk.
Oh, yeah.
I had to break the news and say that show's been dead for like a year now.
They asked me that too, and I was like,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin Ford wants to know, how long did it take in your woodworking progression to start designing your own pieces? Not very long. I think what happens is, I think your first, most woodworkers who start building from plans, your first sort of foray into designing is just modifying something that you see because you go, well, I'd like it to be a little bit different than that. So that was how it started, and probably maybe 3 projects in, I was at the point that I was just kind of maybe looking at a plan for a quick reference and maybe some general measurements, but then designing the details myself. And since then I haven't changed that much with that. I mean, I still design my own stuff, but I don't go around like acting like I've got some kind of signature WoodWhisperer style. You know what I mean? It's just I design what I think looks good, and if people like it, then that's just awesome. So I never really got to the point that some people get to, where they just have this like very signature look that you could look at the piece and go, yep, that's definitely a Jory Brigham piece, or that's a Daryl Peart piece. But again, the process of venturing into doing my own thing because I wanted something different was pretty early on. And I think sometimes it's like, it's a lot like musicians. Some people get into reading sheet music and have trouble breaking away from that. And they become an incredible musician, but put them in a band situation and they might not be able to play their instrument because there's nothing to guide them. And then other people start out totally self-taught, no sheet music, and all they know how to do is jam with a bunch of other musicians. And then there's, of course, people who are in all between that on the scale. So I think it's kind of like that. Some people just naturally gravitate to wanting to do their own thing, and designing and modifying designs just comes natural, so they do it earlier in the process.
Black Saw Studio wants to know, how do you deal with the shop funk?
Well, she's only here for like an hour a week, guys.
That keeps people out of the shop, avoiding projects, etc.
You don't stink that bad. What shop funk are we talking about?
Like you're trying to like get motivated.
Can I read the question?
It's right. How do you deal with shop funk that keeps people out of the shop, avoiding projects?
Okay, now I get it. Okay. When you said shop funk and it keeps people out of the shop, I'm thinking like an odor, right?
Oh, yeah.
With this odor, well, I use Renews It.
You use Bloom.
Sponsored by Bloom. Well, that's a tricky one because I think there are a lot of people who stress out about this, and they're full-fledged hobbyists. So they're just building what they want to build when they want to build it, and for whatever reason, they can't get the motivation to go in the shop. And unlike you sort of post that into a forum or something, and you'll get lots of responses where people are like, oh, you should do this or build this kind of project. And I'm a little bit, I just feel differently about it. If you don't have to be in the shop and you don't want to be in the shop, don't force yourself to be in the shop. Like, you're going to do your best work and be safest when you want to be there. So I personally don't believe anyone should do anything to force themselves to get back in the shop if they don't want to.
Unless it's your job.
If
your boss might.
If it's a job, you've got clients. Well,
Mark told me I'm not feeling it.
Mark said, here, go to 5 minutes into this video and you'll see. But yeah, I mean, if it's your job, well then, that's your job, man. Get in there and do what you got to do. But if you're the hobbyist, like I said, I don't think you have to push it. Wait until the inspiration comes. Now, that said, I'm going to now contradict myself by telling you what I would do if I felt like I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. I would go find some of the stuff that first inspired me to get into woodworking in the first place. For me, that's Woodworks. I watched David Mark's old Woodwork show, and immediately, same thing with like New Yankee Workshop, I watch that stuff and I just want to get in the shop and make things. Another thing I do is I focus on improving my shop space. Shop projects are very low pressure projects, and they also make your functional life in the shop a lot more fun. So building a drill, a drill bit cabinet or a router bit cabinet, or I'm just finishing up a MFT cart for the multifunction table to sit on top of. Those sort of creature comfort improvements make me want to be in the shop more, and it's sort of this cycle that happens, and it makes me want to be there. So once I finish those projects, now I'm really geared up because my shop is that much more organized and ready to go. So those are the things that I do.
I threw David some love in the chat room. He actually sells the Woodworks videos. He licensed it from was it HGTV or whoever the production company was.
Scripps Network.
Scripps. So I put a link. Look at David in his clean cut. He's like beardy now.
He's all beardy.
Beardy.
He's all beardy and old, like all of us.
Oh, stop.
We're all beardy and old
when you
now.
Guys, when you shave, you look different.
I look different when I wear a NES console on my chest.
All right.
But yeah, David, like if you haven't seen this stuff, this is stuff that predates our modern idea of woodworking content.
Yeah.
This is back with a TV format, 20-minute shows. But it's, if you ever seen the stuff that David Marks makes, it's fantastic furniture with really high-level techniques and something that would never get on TV today. It's too complex, it's too niche, and I don't think it would ever fly on any network at this point.
But it works really well online.
But holy crap, is it great. So if you haven't seen this, you owe it to yourself to just go over there, grab a season, even grab just a single episode, digital download, watch that, and I guarantee you'll be back for more.
Got a question here from Making a Maker. I'm still just a hobbyist woodworker, slowly acquiring tools, looking to purchase a sliding compound miter saw. Thoughts on a 10-inch versus 12-inch?
Well, the 12-inch is 2 inches bigger and has greater capacity.
You're such a smart.
I have always gone for 12 because I like the extra capacity. Unless there's a reason, size, the space you're fitting it into, the footprint, unless there's a reason you have to go smaller, or if you're absolutely sure that you will never need that increased capacity, I would just go with the 12-inch.
Got a super chat here.
Or budget. Budget is a reason too.
Aaron Crisp. Did I say his name? Aaron, right? E-O-I-N.
Ian. I think it's Ian.
Is it Ian?
I think we've...
Oh, that's right.
We've debated this
That's
before.
why I'm asking, because I'm like, I remember this conversation. It says, hi all, sorry for being late to the live show. I had a P1 at work. P1? What does that mean? Super chat as an apology. It's okay. It's okay, Ian.
Sometimes I got a P1.
P1. P2.
In fact, I got a P1 right now. I think maybe it's the level of urgency.
Maybe? Mm-hmm. All right. I didn't know that. Learn
well, you're forgiven for showing up late.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Thank you for hanging out with us. We got another super chat here from Josh Rodriguez. Do you know about Sean Boyd? He's a pretty underrated woodworker. Name sounds familiar.
Must be very underrated because I have no idea who he is. Yes. I don't know. I never heard of the gentleman.
Sean Boyd.
But that doesn't mean anything.
No.
A lot of people I haven't heard of.
Yeah,
don't let this be your judge of whether or not someone is underrated or not, just because I'm completely unaware.
P1 is priority one.
Oh.
Well, there you go.
Well, the same thing. Level of urgency, Nicole.
Level of urgency.
Is a priority one urination going on here. I got to go.
We got a question here from Gary Badger. I'm building a 2 1/4 inch thick solid rail and stiles and doing mortise and tenon joinery. Is it better to do a double mortise and a tenon or a single mortise and a tenon?
Well, I think if you can get a double in, it's always going to be stronger. I can't think of many cases where you have thicker pieces and you've got the capacity and the real estate in the adjoining pieces to do a double mortise and tenon. But I really can't think of a situation where the double wouldn't be stronger. And if you're talking about thinner work pieces, well, you just don't have the room for double a lot of the times. But generally more is better. If you have a single, a lot of times, let's take a skinnier rail and style as an example, and maybe you just pop one small, and you could use the domino as an example. That's where we run the risk of doing this sometimes because it's so easy. But you pop one domino in a rail, you connect that to the style. That single domino, you can actually tweak that rail a little bit, and over time that could be a problem. You'd be much better off with two smaller dominoes in that same space to prevent that piece from racking and moving at all. So the same concept on larger scale furniture. If you can get the larger or the double mortise and tenon in there, I think you're going to be far better off.
So people are telling me Sean Boyd is working with Four Eyes Woodworking in Denver. Is that right?
No, he's not in Denver. Isn't
well,
Four Eyes?
So they're kind of
collaborating from a distance.
No. They're just so Sean is in. So
Isn't
Kojak Silverek says Sean is in Denver. So I searched Sean Boyd Denver, and
you got this lady.
I got this lady who works.
She's a reporter.
He's a reporter for CBS News.
I don't think that's him.
I don't think that's him either.
Because that is a lady.
That's a lady.
So isn't Four Eyes in California or something? Where does that dude live?
I don't know.
What, we don't know anything.
I don't know.
I'm lucky I know where I live.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I got another question here from what?
By the way,
What?
that seems like that's going to be a trend going forward. You guys want to talk about trends, not a furniture trend. I think we're going to see, because it's already happening, and this is not exactly a difficult prediction, we're going to see more people grouping together, whether it's a power in numbers thing, or the fact that these days it's a lot harder to get noticed.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are out there, they're doing great work, they're very talented, but it's hard to break through. How do you break through? You partner with someone who has more numbers than you do, and then you make great things together. And I think I've already seen a few people doing something like this.
We do it with the guild.
Well, the guild, but that's a kind of a different thing.
It is, but it's
But it's a paid thing, so it's a little easier to get people like it's
easier to convince them.
Yeah, it is. I think there might be a little bit more, less tangible things happening on the free side of things when people collaborate in that way. So you won't see these simple, collaborations that we used to see because someone happened to visit someone else. I think we're going to see more teaming up and combining of brands between people. For better or for worse, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be better.
Yeah.
I know I like working with other people. In terms of creativity, I think I find it fun, but there's a limit to that. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Sure.
So I'm not too surprised to hear that they're kind of partnering together.
And you're right. Four Eyes does live in Orange County, and so does Sean.
So what about Denver? Who said he lives in Denver?
I'm not gonna. It's the chat
It's in the past.
conversation.
Ignore the chat.
Yes.
Is what she's saying.
David Williams wants to know: does your guild qualify for the Rockler Club / guild discount?
You would know better than me.
I don't think so, but I've also never asked.
The Rockler discount thing kind of comes and goes.
Because we've had them in the guild as a discount, and then it's gone out. So I do have a contact at Rockler. I'll touch base and see if it qualifies. Let's see. We have a DJV. When is the Fremont dresser coming? How about under Rubo cabinet?
Look at the website. The dates are there.
Yep.
The dates are listed on all the projects.
Yeah.
I know the under cabinet Rubo Dealy Whacker is like next month. And then I can't remember the exact date. The dresser is pretty far out, but the dates are listed on the website.
Once Upon a Workbench. I plan on playing Borderlands 3 when we're done with this.
Yeah.
There you go. Nathan Porter. Mark, I'm going to build a bed frame and thinking of using Festool Domino knockdown connectors since I have the Domino XL. Have you used them? If so, do you recommend? Didn't you do a video on that? The connectors?
Yeah, I think it was done in the free version of the desk video.
I think you're right. I was going to say, go ahead and clear that out.
Sorry. This is about the time in the show where the phlegm starts working its way up. Yeah.
Festool connectors.
Pretty sure. And I actually, I might have done a standalone video.
I want to say, you did a whole standalone video called Festool DF500 connectors.
I knew it! Yeah, Festool DF500 connectors. Now he's talking about the XL. Those are the big ones, but it's the same concept.
Yeah. I'll put the link in the chat.
If you have to do that sort of knockdown stuff, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better solution. It's expensive and they hurt when you buy them, but they're so nice.
George just said, I believe you said you have rubber floor mats. However, the link in the TWW store is for foam. Are they the same?
Nope.
Nope, they're different. Because we went through a company, in fact,
Rubber Flooring Inc.
yeah, we have a discount. They have a 28% kind of standing discount that you can get for their flooring. And I'll find the
I wonder
link.
why our link is messed up. We gotta
Well,
check that.
he's talking about shop.amazon, or yeah, amazon.com/shop/the Wood Whisperer.
Right, but he's
Inside
saying the link. It sounds like he's referring to a link from an article that we did.
Oh, maybe?
That may be broken. So he went to the store, and is that the same thing?
No, it's not the same thing.
I'm gonna hit mute and clear my. Much better.
Did you mute me too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that would have been quite ineffective if I didn't mute us both.
Yeah, that would
wouldn't
have been a little not.
Would have been loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go. What's the company's name for the flooring?
Rubber Flooring Inc.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm out of questions. I mean,
Well, we're
haven't-
pretty much done.
Yeah,
right?
we are pretty much. Yeah, we start at 9:30 now. 9:30.
Okay.
And
Let's do it.
everyone that submitted show titles, thank you so much. Right now, Dingdong McGee is the current winner for the show title.
I got it. I picked it.
Chris Calnassi submitted that for me, so thank you. And this is going to be a new thing because honestly, we say some pretty silly stuff.
And she still reserves the right to override the title.
Yes, I do. I do reserve the right to override the title. You
Yeah.
can go vote. It'll be up for a little bit longer. It's the Wood Whisperer offcuts. Actually, it's just woodwhisperer offcuts.showbot.tv. And that's where you can vote for the current titles that have been submitted.
Yeah, and John Howard wants to know what was the game with the table saw that I showed on Instagram. That was Gears 5.
Oh, yeah, that's
I was
right.
playing that last night, and I'm walking through this area, and there was this old, beat-up, ratty-looking table saw with a guard on it that I could not understand. I was going around, they put these details in there, and there's this weird guard, and I'm like, either this is like an old kind of weird table saw-like tool that I've never seen.
Oh, they put a table saw in it?
Or it's really poorly drawn because it looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
do love when I
Sean,
see-
go ahead.
Okay.
Sean wants to know, what did I learn at Phillips? I learned a lot about Philip.
Yeah.
We talked a lot. We actually shared a lot of personal stories. He's a really nice guy. What did I learn? I mean, woodworking-wise, it wasn't like anything he was doing was that surprising to me. I learned a little bit about conversion varnish, which is something I've never really
sander
used.
thingy that he had?
Yeah, he's got that nice stroke sander, which is pretty cool. He counts as strokes, Nicole. And he also has the Durablock. So these rubber foam things, they're used in the auto body industry for surfacing, and they work great for sanding applications too. Also, he was doing some sanding on a profile on end grain, and he used like a thick, dense cardboard, thin but dense cardboard sheet to back the sandpaper as a semi-flexible thing that you could bend it to a pretty good radius and it doesn't wrinkle like a lot of cardboard would. That was it was almost like a thicker poster board material. So that was a cool trick that I picked up.
Cool.
Outside of that, I learned that I don't want to live in Texas because it's a lot like Arizona. I think that's about it.
And you're gonna bump his project up too.
That's when I sit down at the computer today.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I really want to do. It's
So
currently
don't-
slated for June.
I know you said look at the website for the date. So this is
No,
the
that's
one-
still accurate
yeah.
because if they look at the website later, it'll just be a different date. Right now, that is still the date.
Yeah,
But
so,
we do plan to move it earlier. That was just sometimes with these guild projects, it's hard to figure out how we want to space them out. But I get to a point where I'm like, why are we holding on to this? If we have the footage and it's done, let's move that sucker up.
And if you bundle at least 3 pre-order projects together, because there's other pre-order projects. Actually, the Rubo Underwork bench cabinet is still in pre-order. So if you bundle at least 3, the Morley kitchen table goes down to $39.
Let me tell you this. The secret to getting the best deal in the guild, it's not much of a secret, never buy a project standalone. Like if you guys kind of like what we're about, you like what we do, you're going to spend more total, but you are going to get so much better of a deal. You go from paying basically 10% for a single pre-order, you get a 10% discount. You get as much as 40% off if you get 3 projects together. That's an incredible discount.
You're basically kickstarting those projects.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So don't pay full price. You know.
Ryan just had a quick question at the very, very bottom, and it's kind of funny because we were just talking about this.
I think I'm getting a cold.
Get away from me!
Ryan Seidel.
I don't have time to get a cold.
Yeah, who does? Mark, any chance of content on introducing kids to woodworking? My 7-year-old daughter is interested, but I'm lost where to start. No, man, I don't like kids.
You do like kids.
Kids are the worst.
No, they're not. And I really think Mateo, if you got him the
honestly,
right project.
Yeah, honestly, Ryan, this is, as you know, as a dad with kids, you can only guide them so much. As one of my children begins to show a certain level of interest, that I feel comfortable taking it to the next level by documenting what we do together, you know, we'll get into that. But it hasn't really happened yet. I think they're getting close. I think Mateo is getting.
I think if you
like
show him
you mentioned that spaceship book that Springhouse sent us.
Yep.
He might pick a design that he likes, and we'll see how it goes. I have to do a lot of that before I even feel good about commenting on how to get kids incorporated, because clearly I haven't been successful at it yet, right? I'm still working on it. So it's a great idea, but like everything with the show, much of the content, the humor, the things we talk about comes from our actual life experiences. And like a lot of people wonder why we don't do the stupid skits anymore.
Right.
A lot of that is just you know, life stage and what we find funny and what we don't find funny. So something like that with the kids, I'm not going to push that content until my real life experiences are putting that stuff in front of me that I go, oh, here's a tip. You know, moms and dads around the world are going to love it when I tell them, if you do this, your kid will get into woodworking, and maybe like the safety ramifications of having children in the shop. What's a good thing to start them with? You know, should you have them pushing things through a table saw? Probably not. Probably not. So yeah, I just don't have any really solid experience-based advice on
So
that.
Ryan, in our Amazon store, I put a link in the chat. It's amazon.com/shop/the Woodwhisperer. We have a category for Friday Live. The spacecraft book that he was talking about that we're going to use with Mateo is in there. So if you're, take a look at it.
Now, here's some things. Matthew's got a couple of tips. He says, give them some offcuts and a hot glue gun. And then instant gratification is key. And the few times I have had Mateo in here, Matthew is 100% right.
Right.
Instant gratification, it has to be quick. I was using super glue and nails with offcuts. Yeah. And he built this thing that was like, he called it a spaceship, but it was just a collection of boards. He just wanted, can we put this piece on this piece and put it together? Hot glue would have been an even better choice. Super glue was just all I had at the moment.
You were doing like the spray.
Yeah. Like, stand back, Mateo. Don't glue your hand to the board. But hot glue is a great way to get these things together to spark their interest of constructing something quickly. He's absolutely right. Totally forgot about that. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that insight. All right, we got anything else? Any announcements?
I just wanted to say thank you to Scott Brooks, who just did a super chat. I don't see a question. So
I would love to know what Vincent is talking about. I've seen him type this a few times. I'd like to solve his problem. He keeps asking for plans in the link. If anybody knows what Vincent is talking about, give him his planes in the link.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's talking about. But he keeps asking, and I feel bad.
Oh, he says, how do you get the hardware for the woodworking bench in the plans?
Where?
Right there. I guess that's where you saw the workbench.
Well, the links are there. The links are on a sales page.
Yeah.
You don't even need to buy it to get the links.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway. All right, I'm going to go drink some more water and clear my throat for the rest of the day. That's the fun hobby of mine.
Yay.
Oh, we'll have a video out today. So.
Oh, yeah. What's the date for?
Miter Station.
Miter Station.
All right, thanks, everybody. God, it's terrible.
Well, Scott just said, are you done adding guild projects for this year? Yes.
Yeah, I think this year we're going to close it off. I think if we bring Phillips into the fold earlier, it's going to be early 2020, not 2019.
Right.
We're pretty much packed. And I'd like to relax a little bit. Yeah. I wanted to relax between projects, but Matthew just wants to keep going. And when I'm upset with him, I call him Matthew and not Matt. And he knows that. He knows what's up.
I know.
Well, he's lucky I'm not using his middle name.
Yeah, I got to get that guild newsletter out today.
I don't know what his middle name is.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, guild newsletter. Remind me, I got to put. We just did a little incremental user interface quality of life improvement on the guild site. We moved some things around for people.
Good.
Yeah, I'll show it to you later. Okay.
And, I got one more thing. We had a few late joiners.
We didn't choose a winner.
We didn't choose a winner, and Nathan wants to know, when does Woodworkers Fighting Cancer kick off? My son and I were planning on making it for my wife, and then she was diagnosed a couple weeks ago. Oh, I'm so sorry to read that. There's also another earlier.
You
son was
don't have
diagnosed,
to.
So
You don't have to go far to find these things. Unfortunately, that's what sucks about it.
It's something we put our energy in. If you're not sure what we're talking about, if you go to woodworkersfightingcancer.com, I've started to build the page up. It's something we've been doing for a while now, since 2010, I think. And we basically just kind of pull our resources together and raise money directly for a cancer charity. This year it's Cancer Research Institute, because I really like the work that they're doing with immunotherapy and all cancers.
It's got a lot of potential.
It really
Sort
does.
of seems to anyway.
So there you go.
Okay. Let's see. I want to give the
September 20th is when the video is going to come out.
Okay. Guild project is going to go to Paul Engel, because I wasn't able to answer his question.
Oh, there you go.
I went through the trouble of reading it and couldn't answer it.
So Paul, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I will get you set up. I have a ton of email I need to go through.
Check me out. I'm being cash.
Cash.
Totally cash.
Cash.
I want to get that video out so I can go play some Borderlands with you.
Okay, go do it.
It's not going to happen.
Let's wrap it up.
I'm going to be working.
Pinch it off.
Pinch it off, Mark. All right.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Oh. You guys are going to like this. I got to take the mic off, though. Last minute here, I'm going to show you the MFT table.
Oh.
MFT Cart.
See, a bunch of people probably already left.
That's okay. You have to stay to the very last minute. It's good to the last drop, Nicole.
That's what you're working on.
I'm going to re-mic. You hear that? It sounds like a swarm of bees outside.
I do
You
hear
hear it? It's like,
I hear it.
close the door. So I've been in need of this for a while. One thing that's great about Festool is their stuff is mobile, right? And a lot of it's lightweight and can move. But if you are working in a shop, it's one of the most useless features of Festool gear, because you don't use it. I just want this MFT on something sturdy. I don't need goofy poker table legs, playing card table legs. I want something sturdy. So I'm certainly not the first person to do this, but what's great about the MFT is you could fold up the legs and it sits on these little rubber feet. And if you stabilize it on a nice platform like this and you make it mobile, the casters are locked, so it's not moving. That wasn't that exciting, was it? You've got some compartments big enough for sustainers to fit in. I've got a dust extractor on this side. There's a lot more to happen here. We're going to have a pull-out tray, and I have both of the Festool, well, they have more than two, but I've got the TS55 and TS75 that'll go on a little pull-out tray. Under here will be a drawer. Because it's wide, the backside also has a lot of storage options in it as well. So some clamps, more sustainer storage can go there, or what I'm gonna do is put in drawers over there. Probably come up with a way to take the hose and have it loop over almost like a boom arm sort of thing, so that the hose is exactly where I need it at all times. And it's gonna live all the way over there. So in the plywood area, which is great. So funny thing about this is, after I did the shop tour, the 2019 shop tour, just coincidentally, we knew we needed to get the shop tour out. We did it. But then just after that was done, we had like 5 different things happen. We got the air conditioner. We put up a new lumber rack, multiple new lumber racks. The plywood's now over here. Like, all these changes happen. So I'm totally prepped for 2020 shop tour. But 2020 is coming pretty quick, so maybe we'll just do an early shop tour. So that's that. This is what I'm working on right now. Yeah, okay, I think I'm done. All right, so have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Now I gotta come all the way over there to turn this off.
Careful. Bye.
Toodles.